Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Monday Manifest. Now, just so everybody knows, and I know I mentioned it in a video before, today is the day that I talk about Gears 4 and Gears 5, and I feel like I was probably making a huge deal out of it, like it was going to be like an hour to 2 hour long video, really tearing into the games. And then I realized the whole reason why I made the Monday Manifest was to be a more short form kind of content, part of things compared to, when I do Let's Plays, because those tend to be an hour to 2 hour long videos, maybe even longer if you dig into the older videos where I streamed forever and I just kind of, I know Ace Attorney, I started off doing those videos in 1 hour increments, and then I realized sometimes it's just better to do a whole act, or chapter, just because then you cover everything and it's all encompassing and it doesn't have to have as many parts where you stop the video and literally nothing's really happened. So yeah, this is gonna be pretty quick. 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes tops. But like I'm basically just gonna outline my thoughts on Gears 4 and Gears 5. And let me start off saying I've only played the first Gears of War game, Gears 4 and Gears 5. So there is some stuff I'm missing, some context to the things happening in Gears 4 that probably would help me understand it a bit better or understand some of the characters. Granted, I don't think in Gears 2 or 3, obviously, okay, Gears 4 and Gears 5 are like the next generation, basically, of COG people. Well, I guess they're part of COG or they're not. It's a little, I think, JD is like ex-COG, and I don't know, maybe his friends are too. Basically, in the first 3 Gears of War games, your main character is Marcus Phoenix. And in Gears 4 and 5, Marcus Phoenix is still around, but he's more of just he's still a main character, but you don't play as him at any point. He just kind of is there. He joined your squad for a bit in 4 and 5. Or does he in 5? Maybe a little bit. God, I've already... Look, let me give it to you straight. I wasn't a huge fan of 4 and 5. And so there's a few things that I don't remember just because it wasn't important enough in my mind to remember everything about the game, because I was like, well, I'm probably not going to play it again. But the thing is, 4 and 5 follow JD, Dell, and the girl. Oh God. Okay. Well, first things first. If you guys know me, and Zunder, we like to play co-op games. So we usually try to find a 3-player co-op game so we can play with RC as well. And when we first booted up Gears of War 4, it said that it had 3-player co-op. That was a lie. Apparently, at launch, it did have 3-player co-op, but they took it away because I guess a balancing issue. Like, I guess the game was too easy. I mean, let me tell you, the games weren't especially hard to begin with. Granted, we were playing on like normal mode, maybe even easy. I'm not entirely sure. But let's open up. So that's the wrong source. Which source is that? Sorry, everybody. Professional. I'm not even going to edit this. Like, there's no editing happening. This is just Primary Monitor. So it's so you go through that lady shows up a lot. Haha, she shows up on a robot and you destroy it multiple times because you don't care what she has to say. Oh yeah, I forgot. The beginning of 4 kind of outlines a lot of different major events. And you're just kind of playing as random people doing random things, and sometimes they die and sometimes they don't. And then it starts off with her kind of being like, New World Order, like the COG is helping make sure everybody's... Oh yeah, this is back when the Hammer of Dawn was still working. This is... Oh, this guy. I don't know who that is. Okay, I'm going to move forward. I got to remember the name of the girl. She's pretty important because her mom gets stolen. Also, between... Here she is. Okay, so that's... One of the other things, I don't know what the time difference is between Gears 4 in Gears 5, but this is Del in Gears 4. He looks pretty normal. And then let's go into my YouTube page. Not Gears. Let's immediately jump into Gears 5. Oh, I just realized too that this display captures full screen, so you can't even see me. Sorry, everybody. I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay, and then let's see if I can get Del in a cutscene here. Like, I mean, I know part of the game is everybody's super ripped and jacked and huge. I think I'm playing as Del here. I need to get it like a shot because he's like way beefier in 5. Yeah. Here's a pretty good. This is Del in Gears 5, and he's got the usual Gears like steroid looking ass. Like, and granted, don't get me wrong. Like, that's one of the things I loved about the original Gears is that everybody is like absurdly jacked because they're special soldiers picked out and trained specifically for situations. So, you know, it's kind of just on brand, but it's just really weird seeing Del here and then Del here. Like, he's definitely like, you can see his arms are like normal size, like my size. I'm definitely not jacked in any way. And then he's just this big beefy dude. And I'm like, I don't even know like what the timeline really is with the games, but yeah, that happens. And oh God, I still don't remember her name. I don't remember her name. Because that's Del and her. Please say her name. Back it up. But basically, like, they're all kind of going at the beginning of Gears 4. They're trying to basically, I think they're stealing from the COG to help with these settlements. Because her mom is at a settlement. Also, the uncle who is in this game for a bit, and then also in 5 for a bit, and super secret Marvel ending at the end of this game is him like getting out of the thing that ate him. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, why is this? Why did we get this little cutscene? Please say her name. I need to know. But one of the things I noticed is the gameplay of Gears 4. Kate. Okay, so you have JD, this guy right here, Kate, and then Del. And just so you know, Kate looks pretty much the same. She might be taller. She's definitely not like, she doesn't really look more jacked. Like, they're not going to make a female character a fucking monster, but JD and Del are definitely just super jacked in 5. Like I said, I don't really know the timeline of it. But it's just, there's a lot of things to say about Gears 4 and Gears 5. The big thing for me is the humor in 4 feels incredibly forced. I mean, in Gears 1, it was basically just a bunch of Marcus Phoenix and oh god, Dom. Yeah, kind of back and forthing and just being pretty much meatheads cursing about things, and all of that. And it just worked. It just worked out. I mean, they were 2 ex-military, well, Marcus was ex-military, angry men who were tired of dealing with the shit that happened with the locusts, and they still have to deal with it. But there were so many like offhand jokes and things made in 4 that just fell flat, and I was like, it was like watching a Marvel movie that takes itself too seriously, and then they try to make a joke, but the joke is so tone deaf it just ruins the whole joke. That's the kind of humor that it felt like it had throughout the game. Like, there were lots of little quips that where I heard it and I could tell it was a point where they were like, this is the point where the audience is gonna laugh. And I was just like, I mean, granted, it might just be that these games aren't for me, but I really liked the gritty feel, and there was a certain amount of like clunkiness to the first Gears game. Even playing the remastered version, I did play that with Zunder, and I liked it. There was a certain like kind of clunkiness and everything to the running and combat that's not in Gears 4 and 5. Like it. Like, don't get me wrong, the gunplay and dodging, everything's very smooth in Gears 4 and 5, but because of that, like, smoothness, here, I'll put on a source of me going through some, like, because of the smoothness, it kind of doesn't feel like Gears of War. It feels like every other newer shooter game that came out at the time, you know, like, there's something about the first game where, you know, you're running as Phoenix. He's got a very like stompy run, and you know, the gunplay is like not like it's tight, but it's not like as snappy as there's just something about it that feels very Gears, if that makes sense. Like a lot, and they added like much stuff, so many different enemies here, and they added a few new guns and all that, but just it felt. And granted, I think Gears 4 and 5 were done by a different team than the original 3. So it ended up feeling more like an homage or a spiritual successor than an actual Gears game, if that makes sense. I mean, like I said, I still need to play 2 and 3. Me and Zunder were trying to figure it sucks because they're like only on Xbox, and you know, we don't have Xboxes with Xbox Gold, with our own copies of Gears 2, with like, I don't even know if they have the servers up to, if they do P2P. Like, technically, we could play 2 and 3 through Game Pass if we have Ultimate to like stream it to our PCs, but I don't know. I might do 2 and 3 solo because I'm pretty sure I own the game somewhere, or I can play them by myself, but it kind of sucks that their accessibility is lost for a lot of them, because I really liked 1, so I feel like 2 and 3 would be great. Like, they just felt like very good co-op experiences, and I don't know, 4 and 5 felt a bit watered down, and some of the humor just didn't hit. And the story was kind of, I know it was, like I said, I didn't play 2 and 3, so there's a possibility that there's just chunks I'm missing that would put it all together and be like, oh, that's a really good story. But pretty much the overarching theme of Gears 4 is Kate's mom gets taken, and you're trying to find her, but also fight off the Locusts, who had technically been dormant, but then they've come back to life, and they've got new weird gems that are crystallizing out of them, and stuff is happening, and there's an evil leader lady, and yeah, there's just a lot going on. Also, one of the things we really hated about Gears of War 4 that thankfully they took out in 5, but replaced with something that we didn't like just as much, is Gears of War 4 had a few like tower defense segments where basically you'd get put into an area and you had to use a console, go down an elevator, do whatever, and you had to fight off waves of locusts or other things, and your only way to defend yourself was the guns that you had and a little box that lets you craft like turrets and stuff. But these turrets had limited ammo, and also between each wave, you only really got enough power, which is what you needed to craft these things, to make like 1 or 2 things. So it just felt like a really, really half-assed tower defense, and it was not great. Like, honestly, if you just had like ammo to refill your stuff and nothing to craft, it probably would have worked out better. And there were many of those sections. It was kind of like a thing, and we were like, this is not great. So we beat Gears 4. I was pretty about the whole experience. Like, it wasn't an awful game, but it definitely wasn't for me, and it just felt like it could have been better. And then we start Gears 5. And I was like, the first act of Gears 5 was great. Like, it felt like they fixed a lot of things that I didn't like about Gears 4. Like, the humor was hitting better. It felt more natural. Like, that you got to meet a lot of the characters that you met before, and you're like, oh, hell yeah. Like, look, it looks like real progress is being made and stuff's happening. And then And then we got to Act 2 and Act 3. And just so you know, like, I get why they did it because everybody else was doing, but it was just not great. And it in a game like Gears, like I kind of felt the same way about Halo Infinite. Basically, Act 2 and 3 of Gears of War are open world. You're in a Arctic tundra for the Act 2, and then you're in a desert for Act 3. And in order to get to your objectives, you have to ride on this skiff to get to various points on the map and kind of ping around and do things. And that was the point in the game where I started to be like, oh, this sucks. This isn't great. Because it really felt like they were padding the game. Like there was, I feel like there was no reason they couldn't make it just like every other mission where you start at a point and you work your way down doing the objectives until you get to the final point where everything comes together and you're like, hell yeah, next act, please. It did not hit well. And I read online, like people were very on the fence about that. I was definitely in the camp of like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Like there was no need for that, I feel. And like I said, I likened it to Halo Infinite because if any of you guys have played that, Halo Infinite, at least Halo Infinite is 100% in the open world, but it also didn't need it. Like Halo 1, 2, 3, Reach, the other one, oh God, why did I forget out the top of my head? Basically every Halo was you're in a setting and you're working your way towards the end of that area, and then you just kind of start off in the next mission area and work your way over. The open world, like, added a little bit, but overall it just kind of felt a little unwieldy and unnecessary. You know, we might as well just teleport to each point and start the mission and keep going. Like the open world part felt just a little like thrown in there. And it kind of felt like that with Gears 5, and it was just kind of a way to inject more collectibles, and honestly, it just felt like it was fluffing the length of the game. So, and the worst part was, I mean, Act 1 was great, had great pacing. 2 and 3 felt slow as hell, and then Act 4 was less than an hour. I'm not even kidding. Like, Act 2 and 3 probably took about 5 hours total between the two, and then Act 4 was just over. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but there was a major decision in Act 4 that came out of nowhere, made no sense, and it was, well, for us, it was a no-brainer because of events in the game, but it just, like, I don't really know what they're going to do with Gears 6. And I'm glad that Gears 5, like, it added some cool mechanics, like ice mechanics, where if enemies were stepping on thin ice, you could shoot it and they fell in and died. And, like, there were some interesting things added, but there was just so much other stuff that tipped the balance where I was like, I don't want to play this game again, especially if I have to go through Act 2 and 3. Like, one play and I'm done, you know? So I don't know what they're going to do with 6. They at least took out the tower defense in 5 that they had in 4, or if there were tower defense areas, it was literally like the way I wanted it to be, where there's 2 mounted guns on the side and you have ammo in the middle and you just fight until whatever objective gets fulfilled and you move to the next area. Like, that's fine. That works for me. So I don't really know. I don't know what Gear 6 is going to bring. I'm a little worried. Mostly, I mean, I'm sure hardcore fans of Gears, you know, maybe they loved 4 and 5 and they're ready for 6. Like, for me, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I've already played 4 and 5, so I might as well play it when it comes out, but it's definitely like it's not something I'm incredibly excited for. So we'll see how they do things later on. But yeah, overall, my overall experience with 4 and 5, like as a whole, was they were all right. They weren't stellar. They were definitely smoother playing than the first one, but in a way that actually like made it less Gears to me. I don't know. And it probably didn't help. Like, you have these established characters and then they threw in some new ones who have a different like vibe about them. So it kind of throws things off. But, you know, I'm glad that I at least went through the games. Like, at some point I'll try to go through 2 and 3 and see if I can piece things together. And maybe I'll have a different opinion on 4 and 5. Maybe I'll be like, oh, they actually did things really well and I just didn't know enough. But there's still, it's just too many things that felt kind of like thrown together. And the ending of 5 was definitely just, it felt so rushed. and the end was just like, it was just done. You were like, okay, I beat the thing. We're done. That's it. There really wasn't much else to it. But yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on Gears 4 and Gears 5. Thank you as always for tuning in. I'm sorry if me not liking the game makes you mad. If you love the game, that's great. I'm glad. I'm not gonna shit on anybody else's opinion, and I'd rather people enjoyed games that came out than not enjoy them. Just for me, 4 and 5 were all right. Like, they were pretty good shooters, but like they're not a game that I could play a lot of or do multiplayer or anything. Like, they're all right games. But yeah, so that's God. I'm so glad that I actually got this out instead of being like, well, eventually I'll talk. Like, I just got to do it, just like I need to talk about Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. And when I talk about those games, I feel like it's going to be 2 separate videos because they are different games, even if they have similar looks and mechanics, aside from the powers being very different. But yeah, thank you all for being here. You guys are amazing. I'll see you next Monday Manifest. And yeah, have a great rest of your day/week. And I'll see you next time.